and welcome here to MoreTalkFCB, and welcome here to episode 2 of the TalkFCB Podcast, and a really big welcome to each and every one of you guys. I really appreciate all the feedback from the first episode there, and I'm really excited to continue here with something brand new and exciting, because coming up in today's episode, we are going to have a full recap on the week of Champions League action there, because there were some really interesting results there, a few things that we have to talk about, including struggles for Man City, for Paris Saint-Germain, and especially for Real Madrid, guys, because when it comes here to our closest rivals, you've got to keep an eye on what they're doing. You've got to understand what is going wrong, where are the problems there, because even if it's only to ensure that we don't end up making them ourselves, keep your friends close, but your enemies closer. And today as well, Dembele, Ousmane Dembele is going to be discussed. MSN comparisons, Viktor Gyokeres and Erling Haaland. You name it, we are talking about it here. And let me know, guys, where you are listening from here today, what you're up to whilst you're listening as well. Maybe you're on your way to work. Maybe you're coming back from work after a long day. Maybe you're still at work answering emails or something, or in the house, cleaning, cooking, wherever you are, whatever you're doing. Maybe you're just there doing absolutely nothing whilst listening, because sometimes it's okay to do nothing. We're told these days, always got to stay busy, always got to do something, work hard, never stop. Sometimes it is fine to just do nothing. And if these podcasts can bring you some relaxation, entertainment, escapism, or just a bit of company, I am absolutely delighted. And it's my pleasure to be here with each and every one of you. Thank you for joining me. And let's chat. Because if we do indeed begin here with a shout out to Max for the super thanks in episode 1 there. I really appreciate the support, and it really does help the channel, especially new ventures here, a lot. So thank you indeed for that support. Because if we do start by talking about that week of Champions League action, because I've got to say, guys, a lot of the big teams here in this match day in the Champions League, they did end up struggling. And I'm looking right now at Paris Saint-Germain. They are currently in the elimination places. They are 25th out of 36 teams in this year's Champions League right now. They only have 4 points from 4 games so far, and of course they lost very late on in their game against Atletico Madrid this week. And Atleti, by the way, that win only takes them into 23rd, so they were really struggling up until now, and they still are a little bit as well. They're certainly not out of danger, and we're going to go on to talk about Man City and Real Madrid very soon. But can I just say, does the new Champions League format kind of make it here like it's harder for those big teams to actually miss out? Like it's actually harder here for them to be completely eliminated, because I feel as though there's more leeway because of the additional games, because of the way the format here is set up. Because yeah, PSG right now, they are in the elimination zone. They do only have 4 points, but they're only 1 point away from being in that playoff zone, you know, whereby you can actually get through to the round of 32 and play a playoff match to reach the round of 16. And of course, PSG now, they still have 4 games to turn things around in this Champions League format. So I think there maybe it does give these big teams, the top teams, a bit of a get-out-jail-free card. It's more unlikely here they're going to be eliminated altogether. They might get stuck in the playoffs, but then if you recapture your form by then anyway, it kind of all becomes irrelevant here. So we do have more games. There is more of an opportunity to get up that league table. And of course, Barca, they are right up there in 6th place, back inside of the top 8. That is where we want to be. I think it's impressive that we've done that, given that we lost our first game. It was a terrible start to lose against Monaco in that match day 1, but we've bounced back really well. And also inside that top 8 with us, by the way, guys, that we should be paying attention to, Brest, they are in 4th place. They're actually having an incredible Champions League campaign so far, and Borussia Dortmund are in 7th. We still have both of those teams still to play in the Champions League, so certainly those games will be more tests to come, but tests that I am really excited about. But of course, one of the big results that we have to talk about from this week, it has to be Man City's defeat against Sporting there. 4-1, you know, it wasn't just a loss there for Pep's team, but it was an absolute demolition job in the end from Sporting Lisbon, and it was quite incredible to see Man City lose 3 games in a row, and in all different competitions as well. And can I just say as well, if anybody doubted touted Rodri's impact on this team, his presence in that Man City system. Well, look at what they're doing now. Look at what they're unable to do without him in their team. You could say that he's left a Ballon d'Or worthy hole in their lineup right now, because yes, he won the Ballon d'Or. He is this key. This is how important he is. And it's going to be interesting to see how Man City navigate the rest of the season, because hey guys, a great question coming in here from Lakshan, who basically says pundits are now defending Man City though. They are rushing to Man City's defence because of those injury problems. We're hearing, oh, Man City, they might have lost 4-1 to Sporting. They might be losing in the Premier League a little bit right now. But look at all the injuries that they've got. But Lakshan says nobody said that about Barca. Nobody actually gave us those excuses there when we had a whole stack of injuries. And it's a great point. And this is actually part of a wider point that we're going to talk about here about the media and the way that they portray things and the way that certainly they look at Barca, and we seem to be treated a bit differently to all other teams there, because yeah, nobody was crying about Barca. If anything, we would have been laughed at for that result. We would have been absolutely humiliated in the public eye because of losing a game like that in the Champions League. But oh, Man City have got injuries, and Man City, by the way, are a team who can spend and spend and spend and spend. They could have an incredibly good squad with so much depth, and yet they're the ones that we have to feel sorry for. And this, like I say, guys, is part of a wider issue, because another question here coming in from Yazan from Canada, I'm not sure if I'm the only one who noticed this, but Barca never receive credit for anything we do, from analysts, from commentators. When Barca began the season very strongly, it was said their tactics won't work against bigger teams, but now we have faced those bigger teams and beaten them. We are now being branded as lucky. And like I say, guys, this is the issue that all of us Barcelona fans see. We all recognise the media. They really don't want to give us credit. They will go to any length there to say, oh, well, it's not Barca, though. It's not Barca that are doing good things. There must be some other factor here that we can point to or blame or say that it was luck. And you know what I would say about that? Many commentators that commentate on our matches, many of the pundits there, so-called pundits, who talk about our matches on TV stations and such, many of them, especially to do with the offside trap and the high line at Barcelona, they have absolutely no idea what Hansi Flick is doing. They do not know about the work that has gone into this system. They do not know that all season long we've been preparing, we've been planning, we've been working, we've been perfecting this system. And that is why when you hear commentators say, oh, well, they'll get caught out, teams will figure this out, oh, teams now are being encouraged because they scored an offside goal, you think, what on earth are you talking about here? This is a system that we have been working on so that it's bulletproof. We have proven it against Bayern. We have proven it against Real Madrid. You all said it wouldn't work, and we made it work because of the work that we're putting in. It is lazy journalism. It is lazy punditry there to say, oh, well, they'll get caught out. It's luck. Nothing about this is luck. And you only need to look at what is happening to other teams in the Champions League this season, other teams' performances, to see Barca are doing very well. Compared to what we're seeing elsewhere, we have a lot figured out. Because that actually brings me on here to talk, and this is the really interesting one here. We've got to go into this in some detail about Real Madrid struggles. And I've had lots of questions here saying, what do you think is the root of Real Madrid's problems right now? And look, I know that we're a Barcelona channel here. I know that we talk all about Barca, of course, but I do think it's important to keep an eye on what our biggest rivals are doing. You have to do that. You've got to be aware of what's out there. You've got to be aware of what you're up against. And I also know that many Real Madrid fans watch this channel, and they probably do that to understand what's happening at Barca as well. So obviously we're big rivals, but we are interested in what's going on at these clubs. It's important for that understanding. And I think when you're looking at Real Madrid right now in the Champions League, they've not been themselves, especially here in the new format. They lost against Lille there. That was a very big shock there in the Champions League for Madrid. But then to lose at home against AC Milan, and not just lose, but by 3-1 on the night. And I actually think that result, it's made worse by the fact that it was off the back of the Clásico. You know, after that, Real Madrid, of course, didn't play at the weekend in La Liga. So this was their first game after the Clásico defeat. And all we'd heard about revenge, you know, we heard that they were looking at this game against Milan. They were really fired up and they were going to show people what was what. And they showed absolutely nothing. If anything now, there's more questions about Madrid. There is more scrutiny on their performance. And what is going wrong? We're all wondering it. What is going wrong? And I think the first thing, it's obvious to say, they cannot resist a superstar signing. They could not resist bringing Kylian Mbappe into this team. And why? Because look, I know at his best, he is one of the world's best players and any team would want him. But you look at Real Madrid's situation, you look at the team that they had, you look at their success last season, they were absolutely flying. Did they need Mbappe? They absolutely didn't. There's no way that you can say this team was crying out for Kylian Mbappe. Because you know what? He comes in, he's a great player, but he wants to play on the left. He's not going to play there. He can't come in and play there because one of their best players last season was Vinicius Jr., who has proved himself at Real Madrid, who has proved himself here in the Champions League for them too. So they're not just going to kick him out. It was never going to be like that. So already you have a power struggle at Madrid there. You've got Mbappe down the middle where he's not as effective. He wants to be on the left. He wants to be taking penalties. He wants to be the main man. He isn't. And that is a big, big problem already. And then you have the knock-on effects then in the rest of the team. Because not only do you have Mbappe, who doesn't really contribute that much defensively. We heard Luis Enrique talking about it at PSG, really making the team do the rest of the work. Mbappe, he's not going to be tracking back. He's not going to be working as one. Vinicius as well, he's not going to be doing a load of work either. And then you've got somebody now like Jude Bellingham, who last season was allowed real freedom to go forward, to join attack there, to be involved in the final third. He has been cast aside. He has been well and truly there, forgotten about. At Madrid, they don't talk about him anymore. They don't put any emphasis on him. They don't really base anything around him in their team. He has literally been thrown out because Real Madrid had a shiny new toy. And I'm talking about here not being able to resist those superstar signings. And the reason that I say that is because I know what it feels like. And we all here as Barca fans, we know what that feels like. Because under Bartomeu, we were going the same way, whereby we wanted big names no matter what the team needed, no matter what the team was crying out for, different positions. We always wanted big forward star signings. You think there about Antoine Griezmann. Now, I think Griezmann is an absolutely phenomenal player, and even at Barca, he had bright moments there. He is definitely not the worst big money signing that we made. But what I would say about him was he didn't want to come. He actively rejected Barca in the same way that Mbappe did with Real Madrid. And I just think here, for clubs of these size, like Barca, like Real Madrid, you don't go back for those players then. Once they've messed you around there, once they've actually said, nah, don't want to go there, don't want to make that move, you leave them behind because of the size of the club, because of what it means to play here. And that's why I also can't believe that Madrid went back again for Mbappe. You know, he really toyed with them at PSG. He'd given them indications that he might come, then he'd actually backtrack on that, then he'd sign a renewal. And I cannot believe that Florentino Perez went back to him, offered him the keys to this team after everything that went before it. Because as we saw with Griezmann, they never really fit in then. It never really clicks and feels quite right when that happens there. And I'm very surprised that Real Madrid threw everything out just to sign Mbappe there. Because what I would also say here, just going more in detail here about Real Madrid's problems, why didn't they focus on midfield, by the way, guys? Because Toni Kroos retired, of course, in the summer. That's their problem right now. That is one of their big problems right now at Madrid. The midfield is really struggling. You've got Tchouaméni in there, who is not playing well at all. He's another big money signing that, by the way, nobody talks about. Nobody says that, oh, Tchouaméni, a massive gamble at that price. He is not. He has not proved anything at this point at Real Madrid. And like I say, they've nowhere near replaced Toni Kroos. And in many ways, you'll struggle to. You know, there are very few players in the world who could do what he did in that Madrid team, but at least try. You know, Fede Valverde, he's never ever going to be anything close to the kind of player, the kind of profile that Toni Kroos is. And in defence as well, the injury there, Dani Carvajal, they've had injuries as well, the Thibaut Courtois, key players in their team that obviously has not helped them. But I just think Real Madrid there, they were really sucked in by the Mbappe signing. Florentino Perez wanted that big superstar, but it's just not clicking. They are not working together as a team. You look at it in contrast to Barca. You know, in the Clásico there, Flick has his whole team with an identity, with a clear plan, a philosophy that they stick together no matter what. Real Madrid right now, you've got to say, they look like a team of individuals out there. But one word of warning, what I would say about them, because with Real Madrid, you know, it can change. It can all change at that club very quickly. We are in November here. The season is not won. It's not lost in November. You want to be looking at Real Madrid's form come April, come May. That is when they stand up. That is when they've delivered so many times. They might give us hope. They might not play well. They might really struggle through the season. But there's every chance, of course, that they still make it to the knockout stages of the Champions League. And we've got to make sure we're there with them. We have to make sure that we are the ones this time to stand up to Real, even if they do bounce back, even if they do get it together. We must shut the door, and we must focus here on what we are doing. We must keep going on this path, no matter what. And I have had then another very interesting, really good questions again, guys. How does the trio of Robert Lewandowski, Rafinha and Lamine Yamal stack up and compare with MSN, with Messi, with Suarez and with Neymar? And look, again, it's a really good question, and this again is the kind of question that we wouldn't really get to talk about, we wouldn't really get to go into. Again, it's not happening right now, this is not the most relevant news, but hey, it's a good topic, it is good conversation, because let me just say, it's always hard to compare times in football, different times, different eras. Football changes so quickly, the game is always adapting, so it's hard to look back and compare it to what we see right here and now. But can I just say about MSN, you had Luis Suarez, who as of that time, after he joined Barcelona, the treble-winning season and beyond there, he was in the absolute peak of his career. He gained all of that experience at Liverpool. He turned into such an incredible player. And then he came to Barca, and that was his moment there. And combining with Messi, combining with Neymar, he was at the absolute peak of his powers. Then, of course, you had Lionel Messi, who, can I just say, was always at his peak. We don't even need to identify where Messi's peak was. It was just Messi. When people talk about when was the best Messi, it's just Messi. He is the best. The end of story. It's as simple as that. His career is simply not normal. You cannot judge him by normal standards. And then you had Neymar, who I would also just say right now, Neymar going through a lot of physical troubles in Saudi Arabia. His career there just didn't ever go the way that we kind of hoped and thought that it would. In the end, did it? The move to PSG, now in Saudi, really struggling. I hope that he goes, to be honest, in the end, to Inter Miami. I hope that he can reunite with Messi and Suarez in the end, because actually the trio reunited, I could get behind that. But look, Neymar at Barca, I think his time there is still actually underrated. The move to PSG, of course, was terrible, horrible decision, absolutely, but the player that he was, the talent that he showed, the performances that he put in, the numbers that he put up at Barca, still very underrated in my opinion. If he was to do that now, it would be like, wow. It was just because, he was alongside Messi, alongside Suarez, and of course Ronaldo at the same time was doing incredible things too, and it was only really because of that we weren't all just shouting and raving about Neymar's performances. But look, all of that there, you compare that to now, well, it's a very different kind of situation, because then you have Robert Lewandowski, who is 36 years old. And look, he's doing an incredible job. He's doing the absolute perfect job that Hansi Flick needs from him right now. He is very important to the system. He is our finisher. He is our number 9. He's our vocal point in attack, and he's doing that job well. But of course, it would have been great to have Lewandowski all of those years earlier. He's not at his absolute peak right now, even if he is still producing some incredible numbers. Then you've got Yamal, who of course is only 17. Now he, just like Messi, what we've just said about not being normal, well, Yamal for his age at 17, he's not normal either, because he should only be at the very start here of his career. He should be building up, going slowly. He shouldn't be such a key player as he already is. But he's already there. He's already doing things way beyond his years, way beyond things that we've ever seen from somebody of this age. It is also not normal what he is doing. And then you've got Rafinha, which I think is actually the most extraordinary one right now, because we just never really quite saw it coming. He is completely transformed. We have gone from wondering if he'll actually be able to score, or if he'll actually be able to assist, to actually knowing that he will, knowing that he will stand up and deliver. And he's been so consistent in front of goal there. So I think when you're looking at the two trios, MSN, it was legendary. That will go down in footballing history, in my opinion, as the greatest trio that we've ever seen. Not only just because of titles or goals or stats, but just the combinations, just the way that actually the three of them perfectly worked together, and they just fitted so perfectly there into that team. It was absolutely amazing. But I guess we can also appreciate this trio now. Just because, this trio, it's not the same as MSN, it doesn't mean it's not the best now. Because in today's footballing world, I, again, cannot see another front three that's as good as this one. In the footballing world this season, it has not happened. It does not exist. Lewandowski, Yamal, Rafinha, they are delivering, they are consistent, they are firing us to glory. And for the period that we're in, under this particular coach, in this particular system, you've got to say, it is absolutely perfect. And full credit to all three of them. We love them. We absolutely love them. and we really appreciate what they're doing. But that indeed, guys, is where things get very, very interesting. Speaking about Hansi Flick's current Barca, speaking about the current Barca team, well, I've got a question here that, again, is absolutely perfect for this podcast format. Things that maybe we wouldn't usually get to talk about. A question here that says, I was never an Ousmane Dembele fan, but seeing Barca performing in this way, how was Dembele going to perform under Hansi Flick? Would Hansi Flick have unlocked Ousmane Dembele to reach his potential? And they talk there about being a Neymar replacement. So basically there, what do we think Dembele would have been like under Hansi Flick's leadership? And let me just say, guys, on this one, Dembele, he has the potential, he's always had the potential to be a phenomenal player. And certainly then when you think about Hansi Flick's system, you've got, of course, the option, and much more frequently, of counter-attacks. And you think about the pace of Ousmane Dembele, running in behind there, really exploiting all of that space. I think it suits him very, very well. You'd have to say that there. He would really, really enjoy that kind of game style, having that kind of freedom as well. I think he needed at times a bit of freedom at Barca. But let me just say, Dembele for me was an extremely, and is an extremely talented player who never quite grew up. Because let me just say, looking at our front line, Lamine Yamal, Dani Olmo, Rafinha, look at the way they're all playing under Hansi Flick and the impact that they have in the final third. What is one of the main characteristics right here of their great play? It is their decision making in that final third. It is the fact here that now Rafinha in front of goal, he is delivering. He is being extremely clinical. That is why he's scoring goals. That is why he's providing fantastic assists as well. Lamine Yamal's final ball is absolutely unbelievable. And Dani Olmo, he is so productive there in and around the penalty area. Now that for me is where Dembele has never, and I mean never, improved as a player. He's got all the pace in the world, he's got all the ability in the world, 1 versus 1, he's got fantastic technical qualities, but his final ball, his final decision, it's just never improved. He's never been able to mature in that side of his game, and that is why I still would have question marks about him, whoever he plays for, whether it's Xavi, whether it's Luis Enrique, whether it's Hansi Flick here. And you also think, guys, about when he was playing under Xavi. I honestly believe that's as good as you're going to get from Ousmane Dembele. At times he was unplayable. And you think about the amount of work that Xavi put into this man. You think about the importance that he gave him. We were constantly supplying Dembele with balls there. He became the heart of the system. I don't think any coach ever is going to give Dembele that level of importance. I don't think any coach is ever going to trust in him again like Xavi did. And that is why it still frustrates me. It angers me to this day how much time and effort Xavi put into him, only for at the end of it, Dembele to throw it, literally throw it all into his face here. So whether it's Hansi Flick, whether it's any other coach, Dembele, lots of talent, huge amounts of potential. That is why we look to pay big money, and did pay big money for him from Dortmund. But again, he never quite matured. That is why you're still seeing him have disciplinary issues, problems there with the team dynamic at PSG under Lucho. He never grew up, and that final ball, it still is not convincing and hasn't improved in year upon year upon year. So I would still have my doubts. However, guys, the comparisons do not end there, and this is a really intriguing one, really exciting conversation here. Great question from Leo. He actually gave us super thanks there. Fantastic support. Thank you very, very much, Leo. Great question. Would you rather sign Viktor Gyokeres or Erling Haaland in that centre-forward position? Now, obviously, it's not just as easy, not just as simple there to say, well, based on track record, obviously everybody in the world is thinking Erling Haaland. He is the go-to centre-forward. He is one of the biggest stars in the world right now. Obviously, you'd lean towards him. But I think when you unpack it there's a little bit more to consider, because, of course, you've got to think about money too. With Barca, you've always also got to think about the financial side. Erling Haaland there would probably be, at least, you'd say, double the transfer fee. I'd say maybe even more. I don't know exactly what we're going to be talking about 1 year on, in 2026 it would be, so you'd also have him a bit later. And also, though, that's not necessarily the issue with me. It's not even necessarily about the transfer fee. It's more about the wages when it comes to Erling Haaland. He is on big money in the Premier League with Man City. Could you actually get him not to accept that much money at Barca? Would he actually lower his expectations, his salary, in order to join Barca? That would be a big ask. But I think the interesting thing about it is Barca Barca under Laporta, they've done a really good job of getting the wage bill to a manageable level. You know, we don't have too many players in the squad right now who are earning way above everybody else. You know, it's a very balanced structure. I like that about it. It's a really, really good thing. And of course, we discussed earlier on the whole thing about superstars. You know, Mbappe coming in and really upsetting the balance at Real Madrid there, where things now are just spiraled out of control, all based on one signing, one player coming in and just upsetting that balance. You would not want anything to happen like that at Barca. So you've got to consider there the presence of Haaland, the amount of money that it would cost to sign him, and the wages and what that would do to the structure. But look, when Robert Lewandowski does eventually depart, whenever that may be, it will actually free up a significant amount of salary space. And Barca's revenues, by the way, they're going to keep going up and up and up. And that is the really important thing too, moving back to our stadium, then getting it eventually to full capacity with all the extras as well that will bring in with that new stadium. Our revenues, they're going to boom. And so is our salary cap as a result. So we may have more room to work in these seasons to come. So I don't think it's completely out of the realm of possibility that we could actually afford Erling Haaland. It may be possible there once Lewandowski departs, those wages are removed from the wage bill, there's a big space opening up. Erling Haaland, it is actually possible. And he is the guaranteed bet. Make no mistake about that. As much as we spoke earlier on the main channel about Viktor Gyokeres, everything that he's doing, the goals that he's scoring, how well he actually played against Man City. You know, physically, he is an absolute monster there in the centre-forward role. He is so powerful, destructive, finishing ability off the scale, and I believe he's an incredible player. But of course, when you're looking at the two of them, in terms of what they've done in their careers up to this point, the guaranteed bet, it would be Erling Haaland. It would be more of a risk, even if it was for less money, in my opinion, to go for Gyokeres there, as opposed to the proven track record and ability of Erling Haaland. But let me just say, on him, even at Man City at times, there have been question marks about him. You know, his overall game, you know, is he the complete package that we thought that he was? Is he a bit limited in his play? You know, you see him sometimes at Man City under Pep Guardiola there in the system that they play. He can barely touch the ball. You know, game by game, he has very important goal contributions. He can finish chances off well, but he doesn't get involved a great deal at times. And is he limited? Could that be a problem at Barca? Is that something there that means that we should really look elsewhere? But I would actually look at it in a very different way right now, because I would say actually under Pep, you know, teams park the bus. You know, we've seen it with Barca. We've seen it with that style of play whereby teams will camp in their own half. They will park the bus there in front of their own goal, and there will be no space to operate in. So yeah, you're not going to be getting the ball into Erling Haaland. He's going to be starved of opportunities there, touches on the ball. It's going to be difficult to find your rhythm in that game style. It's tough for a centre-forward. That's why for a lot of Pep Guardiola's career, he didn't even play with a centre-forward, of course. He used Messi very fluidly in that area because it doesn't always work out there to have that outright number 9. But that's the interesting thing. And what I think about right now is Erling Haaland in a Hansi Flick system, whereby there's actually space for him. You know, imagine Erling Haaland having room to operate in, room to run into, because we forget at times how much of an athlete this man is. You know, remember his days at Dortmund there? He was incredibly explosive. He used to absolutely tear defences apart there, running in behind them. He was everywhere. He was involved. Yeah, he's the ultimate finisher. I still think, you know, that's his game style. He's a finishing player. He's going to be on the end of things, much like Robert Lewandowski is in this team, but he's got mobility too. And I think in this Flick system here, with that bit more space, with that sort of open style a little bit, a few more counter-attacks for him, I think he could really thrive. But hey, I don't want to get everybody all excited here. You know, if he's available, if he's out there, you'd probably try and get him. You'd probably try and replace Lewandowski with Erling Haaland, if it can be done. But hey, only Laporta actually knows that for sure. Only he will know whether it is a genuine possibility. And the good thing is the fact that they do know, they will know whether it's going to be financially feasible. Because then if not, if you can't, you have to look at Gyokeres. He is such a good player. He is such an excellent number 9. And certainly there's an element of risk there, you know, bringing him in from the Portuguese league, hoping that he can replicate that kind of level, that kind of confidence in a Barcelona team. But again, he also would really suit Hansi Flick's style of play. So what we're talking about here is 2 top-class centre-forwards, 2 players here who are among the best in their roles, certainly this season. Gyokeres has been off the scale, but Erling Haaland is just different. He is just simply a different beast there up front. And like I say, if he's out there, you must try and get him. You must try and replace, especially with Lewandowski's time, you know, coming to an end. You've got to act. You've got to think about the long term. And Laporta loves a statement signing, guys. So please, let me know in the comments down below if you had to choose between Viktor Gyokeres or Erling Haaland, who would you choose? But do you actually believe that Haaland is even possible? Do you think that's an operation that Barca can do and should do? Let me know those thoughts in the comments down below, along with everything else that we have talked about. There's so much there that you could let me know in the comments, and what I also really do hope is that you have enjoyed here the second episode of the TalkFCB podcast, and that you would like to see it continuing, because I really do appreciate all of your support. I'm always guided by you and your preferences, guys, so thank you indeed here for listening wherever you are, and let's come back and do this again very soon. Have a great rest of the day and enjoy the Barca feelings right now. We are feeling good, we are looking good, and we are on a run under Hansi Flick. I will catch you all soon, but until next time, as always, Visca, El Barca.